Hello, good morning. My name is Ruth Mehta, and welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. And this is another day, the 5th of May to be precise. And we are here, we are live, and we are excited to be here to share with you. This is Wednesday, 5th of May, 2021. I'm streaming from Lagos, Nigeria to West Africa to the entire world. And I'll be hosting today's session. Fee Falodu will be hosting us today. I'd like to welcome Fee. I'm sure Fee is excited to be the host of today's show, even though she's wondering, what did you say? We always ask for practice on. All right. So Fee,
Good morning.
You ask, right?
Why do I feel like I was just ambushed right now? Good morning. Good morning, the Good Morning Education Tribe. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Africa. And good morning to the entire world. You're welcome to another edition of the Good Morning Education Show. It's our pleasure to have you on the other side every single day of the week, Monday to Friday, where we talk about topics in around the world of education and sometimes outside of the world of education, which are our special series. You're welcome to this morning's show, and we welcome everyone who is joining us from all over the world. Please let us know where you're joining us from. Drop a comment, drop your location in the comment section as you come in. We'd like to welcome you, and we'd like to welcome you and recognize you as you join the show. Olatunde Adebayo, good morning. Oh, you're making my head swell this morning. Thank you. Welcome to the show. Yes, this morning, as is our practice, with a little bit more sauce and a little bit more we're adding more to it this morning, so we don't just dish you the regular. We also add some to it. We'll be taking our headlines in the world of education, and then after that we will be going into the topic for the day. So the first headline says CBN should pay 100 million naira Greenfield student ransom before it's too late, says Sheikh Gumi. Now we're right smack back in the middle of the security and insecurity issues. And really, well, they say the government doesn't negotiate with terrorists, doesn't negotiate with kidnappers and all of, but here we are talking about the lives of young people. We're talking about the lives of secondary school students, children, some people's children, the future of this country. If that means anything to our leaders in any way, then there's a need to get these children out, to get them freed from those holding them currently. There's a need to have them freed. Apart from what might have gone wrong physically, maybe they've been beaten, maybe they've been injured in one way or the other. There's also the psychological aspect of being kidnapped, and we don't want to continue to propagate this in our schools and amongst our students. So yes, they're crying out for help for these children. They need to be freed. They need to be freed.
Well, it's. I believe that it's good to talk about releasing these people. It's good to talk about the possibility of going to the extent of shifting grounds and boundaries. For example, like you said, paying of ransom and the likes. But I feel a bit more concerned this morning that the person whose voice seems to be very loud is a character that I believe at this point in time seem to be giving me a sense or a cause of concern, because we're not. Yes, the parents of course need solution, want solution, but I also feel that the person speaking, who is meant to be like a middleman, even though I feel is not even the right thing to do, but it looks like if we were to finger a culprit, the spokesman himself seems to be culpable, because I don't know, I don't feel happy that the person speaking is one who is found to be questionable in character, in conduct, antecedents of this individual. And this is someone who has supposedly, negotiated a truce with bandits. And even after the bandits have been paid, they've now seemed to be emboldened to do more. So I think that the government needs to sit down with its fair and square agenda and don't turn us into a milking cow, because I feel that this is a very bad state.
Yeah.
Nigeria, to be talking about this consistently, this is a very bad state. We've descended into a state that can, it's not just worrisome, it's just a pitiable state for a great country like Nigeria. And I think we shouldn't just watch the headlines and cast aspersion or insult the government for whatever thing we think they've not done. But I think that we should understand that the fight has come to our doors, and everyone should recognize that our thought pattern should be that of taking our nation back, government or no government, state or no state, because that's the only way a Sheikh Gumi can keep short forever. Because honestly, until Nigeria rises against this issue, not until the government, until Nigeria as in rises up, these people will keep on milking us. Milk 100 million. Come on. So kidnapping has now become a sector of the economy. So it's a natural resource to keep. Let's move to another headline.
Okay, so moving on, I hope it's something more interesting. House pledges more funding for Nigerian Army University. Okay, well, this is a little more, is less weight, is less heavy than the headline we just moved from. But then, yes, the pledge is good. Actually paying and fulfilling the pledge is better. That's the comment I have on this. And maybe we should take it away from just the Nigerian Army University and see that there are threats. And one of the headlines yesterday said SANU says they are under pressure to resume their strike. So if there's a pledge for the Nigerian Army University, let's take it out of pledge. Can the same funding be available to other universities in the country, so that we don't keep having issues around strike today, student unrest tomorrow, the universities are open and then they're not open? Like, that really is what I would like to see. Let's spread this across all our universities as much as we can. And where maybe house cannot fund that, there needs to be a partnership for this system to work. That's my take on this morning.
Well, you're absolutely right. I think that we just need to, set priorities right, but then benchmark priorities with desired outcomes. I think that way is easier, to get things done in the shortest possible time.
Yes, absolutely. Minister says Nigerian government overfunded military operations in Northeast. Really? Overfunded military operations in Northeast.
I
Okay.
ask me.
I don't even know how this is coming up in the middle of all of what we're talking about. Okay, so moving on. Moving on. Edo Poly introduces innovation to benefit host community. Yes, yes, and yes. This is what this is more what we want to see in the news. And I remember mentioning this yesterday that we would like to see more things from our tertiary institutions that actually benefit people, that actually benefit communities, that we have innovations coming out of our schools. We can't have people staying in school for as long as they're staying, and all that is coming out of it is we're out of school and there are no jobs. So from Edo Poly, this is really welcome. This is a welcome development, something that benefits their host society. Wow, no matter how little or much that is, no matter how little or much that is, it's something that community is going to enjoy, and they would remember that this was given to them by the Edo Police. So more grease to their elbows. I'm actually trying to see what it is that they really gave to the community. Okay. Okay, so they gave a engage in capacity building and technology transfer programs to their host community. Well done, kudos to them, and more of that. Oh, wow, we're back to this insecurity. NANS threatens to shut down the country. Well, this is what you were just talking about earlier, that until Nigeria rises up, until Nigeria solves Nigeria's problem, we would continue to be on the same spot. But this is something that I have been a little afraid of for some time. If people have to take up their own defense, you can't determine how far it will go. You can't determine how long it will go. You can't determine how much the impact will be, who the casualty would be, and it really is not something that it goes beyond anybody's um, it goes beyond anybody's control. It goes beyond what anybody can say, oh, it's starting now, it's ending tomorrow. Even those who start it may not be able to determine how far it goes. But really, this is getting to the point where, yes, we need everybody to chime in. We need everybody to rise up and say, enough of this. Nance, and we know what Nance can do.
There's nothing NAS can do. Let's not
Not NANS
over.
as a body, but students.
Yes,
If NANS
yes.
calls out
There's
students,
there's nothing students can do. I want us to see the only people that can do anything that can be meaningful, long lasting, impactful is Nigerians, not students, not NANS, not NLC, not TLC, I mean, whatever they call themselves, not APC, not PDP. You see, the moment it becomes fraction, a lot of times what you have is everybody begins to be qualified and say, well, it's the student battle. And so if you're not really a student, and the messaging will be tailored just to students. If you look at it, the message will be tailored to party or opposition party, or the message will be tailored just organization, an NGO. Everything coming out are Nigerians. So that in their strength and in their organized ecosystem, they can now galvanize NANS, they can galvanize PDP, APC, they can galvanize political party structures, they can galvanize faith structures, they can galvanize social networks, NGOs, and everyone. That is in implementation. But in terms of identity, we need to come out as Nigerians, because what's happening to us is what's happening to Nigeria, not what's happening to NANS. So NANS had to speak up because students were kidnapped in our institution. When the children were kidnapped in secondary school, there was no student NANS. You understand? Does that make them less students? The NANS that you have to, they didn't pass through secondary school. They kept quiet during Chibok. They kept quiet during the other kidnaps. And they want to shut down the country now. Political parties are not saying anything because they've not put Boko Haram flag in the party secretariat yet. Until then, probably maybe that's when they talk. Or maybe they'll wait to kidnap them when they are trying to do pre-2023 rallies for election. You understand? But if we do not stand up as Nigerians, only Nigerians that will fight for Nigeria, not all these silos, until we understand that it is our war, not their war. We're just going to be mocking about.
Wow. Okay. Two beautiful women walk into the building. Good morning, Mrs. Ajayi. Good morning, Mrs. Adewusi. Welcome to the show this morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Hi.
Good morning.
Hi, cousin. Imagine us walking in together at the same time.
Hi,
No.
Mr. Rotimi, this your location.
I'm telling you, this is my location.
Okay, so we welcome everybody, and I think we've taken the last headline, so we'll be moving right into the topic for today. And from the headlines, we really have touched on some of the elements of today's topic, which is the holistic partnership in education. Who are the parties that come together to make the education system work? Who are the people that need to work together to make sure that we have a system that is working, that is running, that is profitable to everybody, profitable either financially or in the area of knowledge gained or in knowledge passed across, or in every of those lines? Who are those who have to come together, who have to work together, who have to see it as a partnership, not as competition, not as, oh, I am trying to stand out to look like the good person, I'm trying to be the one shining and everybody's seeing me. What is the holistic partnership that needs to take place for education to make sense, for education to work out, for education to have a system that we'll be proud of? I won't want to. Okay, let me just leave the floor open for you to contribute. Who's going first? Okay, I'll go with Ms. Ajayi. Please go first. What's your thought on the partnerships we need to see working for the education system to really, truly work?
That's honestly a really good question. When I think about partnerships, right, that's what looking at stakeholders. What sort of stakeholders do we currently have in the education sector? How are we leveraging that relationship with our stakeholders? And then what other type of relationships should we have? Outside of the education sector? So, I mean, when I think partnerships, the first thing that I think about is the parents, right? Because the reality is, if we think about holistic partnerships, then we do need our parents. We do need to ensure that what should be happening in the home is what is happening in the home. Because in the school, right, you can't do it by yourself. There's certain things that you can't do in school, but there's certain things that you honestly cannot do in school. It's impossible. And even so it's almost like let me use the analogy of it. and he plants it. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, it's freezing at some point, but we can hear you.
Okay, yeah. So I was using the analogy of the farmer and the seed. The farmer gets the seed, right? But the reality is that the farmer needs tools. Okay, so let's even imagine that he has the tools, he has the seed. So let's and then what? He has the soil, right? Because I mean, without the soil, the farmer really cannot do anything. With that seed, he can plant it in a cotton wool. But I mean, there's not much you can do when you think about planting the cotton wool. So the soil, right, is the home front. That's how I see the soil, because so many things happen in the home front. The child is nurtured, the child engaged with so many relationships, the child is able to explore themselves, their roots, their leaves, the watering, everything literally happens in that soil. And so we, the teachers, right, we, the school, right, we have the seed. The seed is the knowledge. Okay, the seed is that knowledge that we're going to give to the child. Okay, the child is not in this analogy. It's just the seed, which is the knowledge that we're giving to the child, the experiences that the child will gain, the tools that we use, which is our class, our different modules of curriculum, classroom interactions, social relationships, all those sort of things that happen in the school. But then that seed, it needs to be planted inside that soil. If not, there's really not much, like I said, you're going to do. And so the first partnership I think about is the home front. The second one is the government, right? So at a macro level, we do need the government. We need the government to ensure that we have the right policies that are governing the sector. So those are the sort of partnerships, that first two partnerships. Then, of course, we then think about school-to-school partnerships as well. That's something that I believe is sadly lacking. We do not have school-to-school partnerships. And it's really sad, because that's something that we need to have to leverage again our capacity as an institution. Yeah, so let me stop there before I hog the mic too much. Thank you so much. Back to you, Ife.
Thank you very much for that, Ms. Ajayi. We have the home partnership, that's with the parents. We have school-to-school partnership, and then the governmental partnership. What other partnerships do we need to be seeing, Ms. Adeosi?
Oh, okay. So sorry. Take that question again.
Yeah, your cousin has graciously given us 3 partnerships: parents, or the home and parent partnership, school-to-school partnerships, and then governmental partnerships. What other partnerships do we really need to be seeing in schools to make sure that the education sector is working and is working perfectly well?
I think we also need partnership with various corporates, and from very different angles. We need partnership with corporates to help ensure that education is about preparing people to live in the world. So when I say that, I'm saying partnership with corporates that would ensure that the skills that, especially at tertiary and secondary school levels, that we are developing are relevant. So those are some of the things. They need to have that partnership where corporates work with schools to ensure that they're developing the right workforce for them, for the future. So that's one very important partnership that I see that's happening. I also see that partnership in terms of funding into the educational sector. I mean, that partnership is happening in various levels. There are a lot of corporates that do various social corporate responsibility, in terms of giving back to schools, providing them with educational materials, building infrastructure, and we need to see a lot more of that. Even as I talk about corporate, we need to see a lot more in terms of technology partnership and support. As we look at our children today, I keep saying that technology is a key factor, and we need to see it become very affordable. We need to see it become something that every Nigerian child has. So that's the area I really like to see partnership with. So how can the manufacturers of the devices, how can the those that provide internet services, how can those that provide educational content come together to make it something that is not only a privileged few that have, but they have access to those things as well as the content. So that's a place that I see partnership. Another partnership for me is the various members the ecosystem that develop content coming together to partner, so we don't have the same thing being replicated, but they can partner to then provide this either at as a free service or as a discounted service. So rather than people are in different areas developing things, how do we have something that is developed to the highest quality and made available to way more people, even if it's at a premium? And this also for me is also partnership with regards to training of teachers. So if you have something that already works, how do we get it out there so that it's easier to upgrade teachers? It's easier to upgrade the school system. um a lot of things that someone like KK is doing in terms of school management, because we need help with school management for a school to be successful and sustainable. It needs to have good leadership. So how do we bring all these things to the forefront? How do we partner? How do we share it? How do we make it something that can go around and a lot of people have access to it? So there are a lot of partnerships that need to happen in the ecosystem.
Thank you very much. There are a lot of partnerships that need to come together in the ecosystem to make it work. Yes, one of the partnerships that I was thinking about and I was going to ask is what Olatunde Adebayo has just commented, that needs to be the school community partnership. Yes, so how does the environment, I saw a video late last night of a little girl and her father were having a band, and the father was asking her what she wanted to do. The girl should be maybe about 5 or 6 years old. The father was asking what she wanted to do, and she said she wanted to be a hairdresser. And father was like, "Oh my goodness, why? Why would you want to be a hairdresser?" And the girl had that kind of look like, but I know how to, she said, but I know how to make hair. And father said, okay, tell me something else you want to do. And she went into thought for some time and came up and said, I'd like to sell biscuits, or I would like to sell food. And the father said, wow, he's really in trouble. And at the base of all of that, one thing I saw is this is what this child is saying in her. As much as there's nothing wrong with being a hairdresser, as much as there's nothing wrong in being a retail trader or whichever type of trading, there is also room for this little mind to grow.
Hello, Finn, are you there?
Physical environment where yes, I'm here. Sorry, I'm here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So what impact does the immediate physical environment have on on the child? Let's go first from
Was that
Fee,
question
Fee,
addressed to me?
and Fee, your
yes,
voice,
please, you can start.
you are breaking. So I think I got the beginning, but maybe missed the middle, and then they had the end part of your question.
Oh, okay. So let me just quickly take that again. What effect does the immediate physical environment have, or what partnerships do schools and the immediate physical environment, the community that surrounds them, what partnerships do they need to go into to have to run smoothly?
Okay. Let me say this. I don't know if the question is for me, but what I'd like to say is the community or the environment is very critical, and we must pay attention to what exists and what subsists in the environment, because I'm sure you'd have noticed there are some estates, for example, to make it a bit closer to home, There are some estates, think of Festac, think of Dolphin Estate, and some organized estates that they had to be specific about the prototypes of the buildings that were going to be in those estates. And they had to be specific even about the color scheme of some of the blocks within these estates because they wanted something. They wanted it to look in a particular way. And even over time, as people change hands, as property change hands, in some cases, even when people bought property over, you still had some of the rules, like you could not totally modify the outlook in a certain way because of the pattern that was there. You see, the society and the environment brings a pattern to the reality of everybody, both the children and the adults. The only thing is that what the child calls possibility is shaped by what the child can interact with through his sensory perception, what the child can see, feel, taste, smell, and hear. And it's our job as adults, as educators, as school in particular, to factor the realities in these children's life. That's what we call social reality, and see how to make more meaning, you know, out of them. I was told many years ago that there was a particular international event that took place in Abuja. If you're familiar with Abuja, coming from the airport, there's a long strip that if you take a look at that strip, you just see small sheds, something sometimes small houses. And so because they didn't want people to have that feel of coming into Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, you're looking at something that almost typifies poverty, the government had to do a long stretch wall to screed off those property. Why? Because they knew that it could shape perception. And so if we are located as schools in certain society, in certain location, we must begin to ask ourselves, what averagely does this environment typify in these children's life? Or else, if the school doesn't do anything about it, or if the community is not partnered with to shape or change the way things are done about it, then in some cases, what will happen is we would leave these children to battle with their own interpretation. So you can, I don't want to mention names, but there are some locations that are that you need a better reinforcement. And I've seen some social change projects trying to do that. Take, for example, Slum to School in Makoko. Makoko in itself um, is an area that has an impression on the children's reality. But the Slum to School project in itself is reinforcing a different paradigm, and this is what schools must be mindful of. We shouldn't be concerned about our compound, hall, playground, and classroom alone. We need to understand that the classroom is not a four wall. The classroom is an interface experience. So sometimes my need to look at how to work to shape in a nine. I was part of a change project by Fela Jotoy, where we had to go to Mushin to paint 5,000 houses, and if you are familiar with Mushin, that motorway, that side, we just felt, what, there's a way we can say that there's more to this place than the normal violent crimes that we normally hear.
Okay. I'm not sure if this is my network or this is.
Mushin
Can we all
is
hear?
actually a type of what a social reality can be in Nigeria. So the acronym of Mushi was uh, making an understanding, something like that. But the idea I'm trying to say is we must. Hello, Titi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I get that, but you've been breaking in
Hello?
and out. So I'm not sure if it's my network or if it's.
It seems like it's perfect.
I can hear you now.
Yeah. Let me just wrap up and allow the others to talk. I just feel major factor. It can erode what has been learnt in school, and it can amplify what has been learnt in school.
Thank you for that round off. It's just very succinct. So the environment, the physical environment. Your thoughts about this? Can you hear me?
Teacher, are you there?
Okay.
Hello?
I'm in. Wow, it looks like we have two people taking out already. Okay. So yes, we have seen the effects of. We just consider the partnerships between the schools and the immediate physical environment. Can you hear me, Sir Sim?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Okay.
the internet is not my friend today. Okay, okay. I just wanted to add that there's a need for partnership with the community.
So, Finn, carry on.
Okay. Sorry,
No,
I
no,
wanted
no.
to just.
Please go on. Please go on. Please go on,
There's a
Zadowsi.
need.
Please
There's
go
a
on.
need for partnership with the community. If the community doesn't help, then large scale impact cannot be done in any community. So you find that when you go and do an outreach, educational outreach in the community, for instance, if you don't carry the community along, they go against you. So, for instance, I sit on a board that provides free education to children in vulnerable communities. A lot of the times, we have to do a lot of community outreach. We have to go and talk to the ballet. We have to, because if the ballet doesn't talk to a lot of people in the community, they won't release their children to even come for the school. They can help propagate all kind of rumors about your school that a lot of people would believe and not come to school. So with a lot of things, you find that the community partnership is really important at the grassroots level to really make any difference in education. Because if you want to reach out, you go to the churches, you go to the mosque in those areas to get them to talk to the people and the congregation about what you're trying to do. If you're to have any impact. So it's very important that we partner with the communities when we are trying to do a lot of things concerning education, because the community impacts their outlook on of the people of their community. It's important you carry them along, because they in turn encourage the parents, they encourage the children, to make any way in education. That's the contribution I wanted to put. Sorry, go ahead, Ruthie.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Yes, if the school is not in partnership with the community, there is a way that they can throw spanners in the wheel. I don't know if this has been mentioned while I was out, but then also when it comes to security, I think the school partnering with their community is very essential, because that the host community can come together when we have issues of um, the prevailing insecurity we have in the country. I think schools and their host communities can partner together to put something in place for security, apart from the other learning that children get from their environment. Okay, so we've talked about the government, we've talked about corporate bodies, we've talked about different partnerships. What's the role of the child in this partnership? What's the role that the child plays in this partnership? Ms. Adewuse, please go first. Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
I think Titi's mic is muted. Probably she muted the mic.
Oh, okay. Okay, it may be more than the mic muting issue. That's probably the network, and it's probably the network. Okay, so what's the role? What part does the child play in all of this? We've talked about we've kind of touched every other person, every other institution, organization, even the physical. What do they bring?
Well, when you say what do children bring, you must recognize that you need to be looking at it from the aspect of the child can be the object or the subject matter in this situation. And so, if you're talking about the children being the subject matter, and so the children can either make up their mind also based on how we've been able to inform and educate them to be rising stars out of community, to be able to raise their voice and share their stories. I'm sure you would have seen some documentaries that have been shared on cable TV of a particular child probably talking about the fact that there's no power in this in his community, or there's no water in this community. So he had to make up his mind, to do something about it, and eventually created wind energy through it. There's a particular child that was trending one time where his family used to be victims of lions eating their cows, their heads, and so what he decided to do was to partner with the community to be able to save the community from losing livestock. He created something that was more or less like LED lights that acted like a mega scarecrow for the lions, just to make the lions feel that there were people present, at night and all that. That's a kind of partnership that you can find the child being the object, not necessarily the subject. And that way, we can raise that consciousness to make changes out of the children for themselves, but to benefit society, or better still, to make the society rise up to bring these children to a place of prominence.
Honestly, I agree with what Rotimi has said, and Finn, when you are saying what's the role of the child, everything is a partnership. A partnership cannot exist without the main recipient of the partnership. So
Exactly.
we talked about school, we talked about parents, we talked about government, we talked about community. We must never omit the receiver, who you have to be in partnership, because value in the end is perceived by the receiver. So whatever we can say, whatever we the parents say, or we the community say, or we the government say, is really what the receiver says is value, then becomes value. So it's important that in all that we are doing, we are carrying all the stakeholders along. When you are making a decision for your child, primary school, they don't have they don't really have a say. But by the time you get to secondary school, whatever it is that you are doing, you have to carry them along. You have to let them know this is why you're selecting this school. This is what you hope to achieve. What are their own dreams? What are their own visions? What say they must have a say in it. Same thing when it comes to university. What course they would read, which university they will go to, why. They must have a say in it. So that at the end of time, they can, they too have realized that everything was done in their own interest, and yet they get something out of it. When a lot of times we go to get children to do things they'd have no interest in, what happens in the long run is that they end up going another way. So you want a child to be a doctor, he becomes a doctor because you insisted on him being a doctor, and then you find later in life he just changes career and do what he had always wanted to do, which can be art, which can be music, which can be so it's important that when we are doing this, we realize it's a partnership. It's not forcing down our own deals and ideals. What our role really is to provide the options, provide the enabling environment that would allow that child be the best they can be. And we must always realize that. So let's always go for a partnership that involves all the stakeholders, including the child.
Thank you so much for that. I remember yesterday, I can't remember if it's who it was that made that comment yesterday, but talking about parents not taking the driver's seats when it comes to making decisions for the children. So yes, as we form this partnership, as we come together to give the best to our students, we also need to have their voices fully represented. We need to have to know that whatever it is that we're doing is of value to them. Earlier, I saw a comment by Olatunde Adebayo that national policy on education states that societal needs form the basis of our education curriculum. Today, the schools need to look at immediate environment to increase value and partnerships that work. And we saw in one of the headlines this morning, the Edo Poly donating and is personal development center to their host community. So yes, as the host community has given them land and probably supplying them with a number of other things, but they're also relevant to that community. They're also very relevant to that environment, and we see that cycle continue. So it's of value to the students involved. It's of value to the community. It's of value to everyone involved in that cycle and in that partnership. Thank you, Shiluri Shitsu, also for your comments. Good idea. Community partnerships, partnerships, security, and lots more. Thank you very much for that. So as we round off this morning, I would like to take your final thoughts on your suggestions on how we can build a solid holistic partnership, now taking it back to where we started from, devoid of competition, devoid of showmanship, of somebody saying, well, I put in so much into this, my name has to be the one that is heard, and as long as they're not getting the glory that they think they deserve for whatever role that they're playing, they withdraw their support, or they withdraw their partnerships. How can we build a strong, lasting, holistic partnership for the education sector? I would start off with Ms. Adewusi.
Sorry, how can we build it? I missed the last part. How can we build
a solid, holistic partnership of all of these entities that we have mentioned this morning?
I think the way we can is one, to realize that we all need each other. We can't do it on our own. All the parties are key for it to be successful. Let's not focus on our individual goal, but the common good. I think those are the two things that we need to do to build a holistic. Let's focus more on the other person and what is the common good. Once we can do that and realize that we all need each other, then I think we can then make a holistic partnership work.
All right, thank you very much. We all need each other. And Mr. Timmy.
All right. Well, I'd like to say that we need to align, we need to build, and we need to complete. That's as simple as ABC. When we want to make something holistic and it's a partnership that we're looking at, I think alignment is the first thing. And then once we align, we need to build, because it's either we're pulling down or building up. And after that, we must make sure we complete, just like Titi said. All stakeholders must find value and must always remember the subject and object perspective in our approach. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As simple as ABC, align, build, compete. And that is the size of our show this morning. Thank you to everyone who has joined us. Thank you to everyone who has dropped a comment. And for those who have not dropped a comment either, we recognize that you're there and you have joined our show this morning. Thank you very much to our analyst and our host and analyst this morning. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Mr. Ajayi. Thank you, Adewuse. Thank you, Mr. Timi Tayo. And tomorrow we'll be back with another topic. Friday we'll be back with another topic. Keep a date with us. Share, subscribe to our YouTube channels, follow every of our analysts, and we would like to keep hearing from you. So this morning we'll do something very different. We will be ending the show with a sign out from the only man in the building. Do I have your votes that they will to go that?
I'm not the only man in the building.
Okay.
I am
the only man in this building right now.
I am 3 men in one. So you missed it. So for that error, you're the one that's signing out today.
Okay, so on behalf of all the 3 men in the building. All right, so we'll have you end the show for us this morning.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back tomorrow, back and better, ending the week in style. The first week of May, to be precise. But then until then, remember, we say it in the beginning, we say it at the ending. It's always a great morning on the Good Morning Education
Show. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.